华美博物馆不仅仅是一个展示文物和艺术作品的场所，更是一个汇聚亚太裔文化历史和传承的宝库。透过精心策划的展览和丰富多元的活动，博物馆将亚太裔传统乐提升到了新的高度，呈现了一个令人惊叹的文化嘉年华。在5月，我们穿越时空，感受着亚太裔文化的脉动，游览于展厅之间，品味着历史和传统的滋味。每一件文物都是一个故事的载体，每一个转角都是一次心灵的触动。我们看到了亚洲的古老智慧，以及亚太裔社群在各个时期的奋斗和成就。华美博物馆为我们打开了一扇窗户，让我们透过文化的窗沿看见了世界的多样性。在这里，我们学习到了尊重和包容的重要性，了解到了亚太裔社群对社会、经济和文化发展所做出的重大贡献。然而，亚太裔传统乐和华美博物馆的使命并不仅仅是一个短暂的30天，他们激发起的热情和思考应该持续下去。我们应该继续探索亚太裔文化的宝藏，深入了解这个丰富多元的社群。
许多的华人们自1850年代开始来到美国这个地方淘金，许多的不平等，许多的不公平，甚至许多的仇恨，到至今为止都还在一直延续着。到底应该怎么解决？有没有解决的一天？今日我们一起来到华美博物馆。I'm doing super well. First question I would like to know, can you please give me a little brief history about this Chinese American Museum?
Yeah, the museum has been here since 2003. So we're turning 20 years old this end of this December. For us, the museum is a space that really reclaims the history of Los Angeles. When we think about Chinatown, we think about the Chinese coming into Los Angeles, we think about the Chinatown as we know today. But our history in Los Angeles goes way beyond that. The Chinatown that exists today opened in the 1930s. But the Chinese has been living in Los Angeles County since the 1850s. And they're here at Union Station. They're here at the location of Chinatown as we know today. And the museum is really a place that reclaims that history, because the building used to be part of historic Chinatown. When the Chinese came to Los Angeles, they were here. And when you don't see this building and you don't see any artifacts, you forget this history. So there's this erasure of history people don't know or don't forget. So we're a reminder, and we reclaim this history of Los Angeles for many Los Angelinos and for many Chinese Americans living here.
For the location that's been standing here for 20 years, it's actually expressing how Chinese American history is expressing throughout the whole Los Angeles, even nationwide.
Exactly.
Right? What are some of the very important exhibitions that's currently within the museum that's telling everyone Chinese American history?
Well, right now this exhibit that we're in is called the Summerville Store. It's a general store that used to be in this building since 1890. So a year later, this store opened up called the Summerville Store. And it really was a space where a lot of people who were living here wanted to buy goods from China, or wanted to buy chopsticks or buy clothing. They would come to this store like this. And it serves a lot of individuals and that were here. If you needed to send money back home, which a lot of people wanted to, you come to the United States to find gold and search for family, and raise money for family. You send your money here and then send it back to China for your loved ones. If you have a letter that you want someone to read, or you want to write a letter, a lot of times coming here in the United States, you were illiterate. You couldn't read or write Chinese. So a store like this would read the letter for you, and they would write a letter for response. Right? So this space is a recreation of that store, so we can remind people of the services that are really important for our community to survive. An exhibition that we have here is also called Journeys, and it looks at the Chinese American experience from the gold rush, the 1848, to the museum when the museum opened in 2003. So it provides a long, detailed history of this long, rich legacy of Chinese Americans. We also wanted to talk about the different Chinese American communities in Los Angeles. Historic Chinatown being where we're currently at right now, just Chinatown as we know today, but also Monterey Park as this growing Chinese American community, back in the 1970s and 80s, and to what it becomes today, which is the predominantly Asian American. And we really wanted to capture that history and show people and our visitors that the Chinese Americans are not just in one location, but they're growing throughout Southern California.
More importantly, the contribution of Chinese Americans or just the Chinese people started at 1850 all the way to nowadays, which is 2023. This month must be extremely significant and important to a majority of the Asians because this is AAPI month. What does AAPI Heritage Month mean to Chinese American Museum?
Heritage Month is very significant because this is our ability in our month to really celebrate who we are and look about how we came here, why we settled in the United States in Los Angeles, and things that we have to overcome. You know, we celebrate the achievements of Chinese working the gold rush, celebrate the achievements of Chinese completing the railroad, but we also have to think about the sacrifices that they made. You know, the fact that so many people who are Chinese work on the railroad, but some of them end up passing, you know, away. Or they were wanting to come over to the United States to work with the families. They want to reunite with the families. But we have the 1882 Chinese Mission Act that prevented Chinese laborers from coming to the United States, where we have the Los Angeles Chinese Massacre in 1871, where 500 Los Angelinos committed to lynch 18 boys and men, right? And that's one of the last, one of the worst mass lynching in the United States was in Mississippi, and that's targeted towards Chinese Americans. So, you know, as we celebrate our achievements here in Los Angeles and in the United States, we also have to look about all of the struggles that many of our Chinese American ancestors had to overcome. And so we celebrate the fact that we did overcome, we acknowledge that, but we also have to look forward into thinking about other struggles that we're facing, especially with the pandemic, with the increase in anti-Asian hate. You know, it's an ability for us to not just celebrate Asian Heritage Month, but also to think about why our history is so important. The fact that we've been here since the gold rush, right? And a lot of people in the United States still think that we're foreigners, still think that we're immigrants. But we have such a long legacy, and this month it's dedicated to that. May is important because this is when the railroad was completed. So this month is very significant, and it's a reminder of that dark and how we have to remember it so we won't have it continue again.
We're remembering our history because generation of Chinese has sacrificed their lives for the United States. We do not forget that, but at the same time, we're looking forward. You have mentioned that Chinese American Museum has stand here for 20 years already. I believe there are many challenges that you have faced or Chinese American Museum has faced during the 20 years. Is there any major one that you remember would like to share?
One of the hardest things about history regarding the museum is the need to open and the wanting to open. Even though we opened 20 years ago, close to 20 years ago, it took 20 years to open. It was a lot of struggles, a lot of fundraising, but also getting a lot of support from the community. Our community felt that a space dedicated to sharing history was very important, but we have other people who felt that it wasn't that necessary. And it was always a constant political fight to make sure that this museum exists then and exists now. And so that's one of the achievements of the museum is being open. And it's a reminder again that we're constantly overcoming. We're constantly facing obstacles, but we're finding ways to overcome these obstacles.
These obstacles might be very difficult, but I think whatever that's built in within us, that's called resilience. That's expressing how Chinese Americans really are to face the obstacles and the challenges and the difficulties. In this month, you have mentioned this is actually very special. Is there anything that you would like to tell the community about Chinese American Museum? At the same time, how are they going to spread the words to spread out Chinese Americans Museum?
May is so important to our community, but we also remember that May is 1 month, and we should always continue to think about our successes throughout the United States throughout the year. But you know, for the museum, we have several programs that really highlights Asian Pacific Heritage Month. One is May 23rd, that is a film screening of Dear Corky, which is a Corky Lee was a photojournalist who really captured a lot of Asian American activism. You know, when we think about Chinese Americans and Asian Americans, there is this aspect of not being socially active, not going to protest, not speaking their mind, but his photographs speaks otherwise. There are so many people who were protesting on the streets of New York and Los Angeles, and there's so many people who were sharing their vision of what a better life in the United States can be, and his photographs capture all of that. Unfortunately, he passed during the pandemic with COVID, but so this screening really is a memorial to him, to celebrate his legacy to our community. And we had an exhibition of Corky a couple years back, so this is bringing Corky back to Los Angeles.
Just like a reflection of how Chinese American really are from now and all the way to 1950s, telling us do not forget our past, at the same time look forward to the future.
这里记录了许许多多华人们鲜为人知的历史，当然也记录到了许许多多华人们对美国的贡献。经过了世世代代，经过了子子孙孙，所有的华人们在这一个土地上面成长茁壮。当然，我们也希望我们的未来可以更好。
Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage History Month is this time to remember our history, commemorate our past, and think about our future.
亚太裔传统乐和华美博物馆的连结，展现了文化的力量和多元的价值。让我们珍惜这样的连结，让它们成为我们共同努力的基石。